Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about the ramifications of Arcana of the Ancients. Arcana of the Ancients is a new hardcover source book being created by Monte Cook Games. It takes the Ninth World, it takes Numenera, and makes it playable with Dungeons and Dragons 5e characters. Okay? Now, you might be tempted to think, oh, a source book. It's not just another source book. It is a historically important source book. And the reason why is multiple reasons. We're going to get into it now. All right. Okay. So here's the issue, right? The existence of Arcana of the Ancients is a huge problem for Monte Cook Games, and I think it's a bell that's being rung for all tabletop role-playing game designers to hear. Okay, and everybody who designs tabletop role-playing games needs to pay attention. If you're a Numenera fan, you don't need to pay attention, right? If you're just a player or a dungeon master, you don't need to pay attention. If you care about tabletop role-playing game design, the history of tabletop role-playing game design, and the impact of tabletop role-playing game design, this is for you. All right, let's move forward. Okay, so here's the issue, right? This is Monte Cook saying, I'm going to make Numenera available, so I'm going to do a source book so that 5th edition players can play in my Numenera world, right? Now, the problem with that is there was a day where Mike Mearls and Monte Cook sat at the same table designing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. These men are both, okay, Monte Cook and Mike Mearls are both architects. They build the mansions of system of rules systems. System settings, essentially, right? They are building rules that allow multiple games to be run on those rule sets, right? Now, Dungeons & Dragons is its own, it allows multiple games to be played on it as well, right? So Dungeons & Dragons is 5th edition. It's just Dungeons & Dragons, right? But recently, they just attached Magic the Gathering with it. So if you want to play some Magic the Gathering, hey, have fun, here's Dungeons & Dragons, right? So it branches across games as well. Monte Cook, in Numenera, has the Cipher system. The Cipher system is used in The Strange, and it's also used in Predation, and it's used in Gods of the Fall. Those aren't source books. Those are freestanding core rule books, right? That you could play those individually, right? And that's really important, right? That's a big, big deal. Also, the Cipher system itself, right? So that's just it. Monte Cook designed a rule system strong enough that you could stand up multiple tabletop role-playing games with it. Mike Mearls stood up Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. He stood up 5th edition, okay? Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, right? That is, that doesn't compete with any other role-playing games. It is the Mac Daddy of all role-playing games, right? Now, Monte Cook served on the 5th edition design team. There was a point where Monte Cook said, I'm out. I am not finishing this job. I am no longer doing design work on 5th edition. I started this journey with 5th edition. I am not going to end this journey with 5th edition. I am Moses. I'm going through the desert, but I ain't going into Canaan, right? I'm not going into the promised land, right? And Monte Cook did not finish his design work on 5th edition, right? And it is my opinion. Not a lot of people share this opinion. It is my opinion that is an absolute hinge in the history of Dungeons & Dragons. Monte Cook leaving the design team. It's a big, big, big deal. Okay, I think there'll be a book written someday about what happened and why he left and how that changed Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and frankly, how it changed history for the Dungeons & Dragons rule set forevermore. Okay, so here's the issue. Cipher system, I'm going to say it. Cipher system is a better rule set than Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rule set. Hands down, much better. It's based on a number set from 3 to 30 and essentially 1 to 10 as well. It's super adaptable, it's elegant, it's a incredibly strong rule system, okay? Now get this. The Cipher rule system is a better rule system than Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rule system flat out. However, no Monte Cook game has ever been, no Monte Cook game ever, not with Cypher or before it, right? But no Cypher system tabletop role-playing game has ever come close to being as good as Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the core rulebook, or the Dungeons & Dragons game, the 5th edition game. And the reason why is the rule set is infinitely better, okay? Get this. The production value is equal. The art is as good. The layout's actually a little better in Cypher books, in Numenera, in the Strange, in Predation, in the Cypher system rulebook. Layout's even better, right? But here's the problem. The settings for Monte Cook games are inaccessible, unapproachable, confusing, and they ruin. They really, in many, the settings ruin, in my opinion, the vast majority of MCG games. That's the problem, okay? And this is a huge, huge problem. And the reason why is there is a better game designer sitting in MCG than anyone working on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, but he cannot make a better game because the settings he includes in his games ruin the fun you can have with a better, elegant, more efficient, more adaptable rule system. Okay? Purely my opinion, but I really think this is important, right? And the reason why is Monte Cook, and I think now, and so if you think I'm wrong, follow this through, okay? Monte Cook is an architect. He built his rule system. Mike Mearls is an architect. He built his rule system. If you got two architects named Monte and Mike, right, and they both build mansions, and then one of them says, oh, hey, Mike, can I do the work to make the garage in your backyard? That's what the Arcana of the Ancients is. It is Monte Architect saying to Mike Architect, I will design and build your garage, right? I do not believe in my heart and my mind for one moment that this is not painting Monte Cook to build that book. I do not think for 1 second Monte Cook wants to build Ancients of the Arcana of the Ancients, right? He wants Dungeons & Dragons designers to be building source books for his games, right? But there are none, right? There are none. And the reason why is because the Strange has... Okay, here's the reason why, okay? This is purely my opinion, all right? The reason why the settings in MCG are so bad, okay, is Monte Cook is I think he is the most brilliant, maybe, you know what, he's definitely in the top 3. He is incredible. Okay, John Harper, Mike Mearls, and Monte Cook. Those 3 guys, the only person who beats them in design is Gygax. Now, I'm not sure where I would put... I think I would rank them like this. Harper's the best, Mearls is next, Monte Cook is the third, okay? Man, you know what? I'm sorry. I would do it this way. Harper, Cook, Mearls, right? That's where I would put them. That's where I would rank them. Harper's the best, Cook is second, from pure games design, right? And then Mearls is last, okay? On that incredibly short list, they are the top, right? The only person above them is Gary Gygax, right? But here's the problem. Here is the issue. Monte Cook is pure Hollywood. He's literally over on the West Coast, right? And those games have Hollywood values in them. Numenera takes place a billion years in the future. A billion years in the future, right? And it's like, hey, it's a whole bunch of cool fantasy elements, and if you squint your eyes, it looks like magic, and it's just, you know, it's science, but you know, if you don't understand it, you would think of it as magic, right? And then it's incredibly secular. And it is really, there's no heartland value. Like, there are no heartland values to be found in any MCG game. It's pure Hollywood, pure secular. So for your average American who might have heartland values, who might be interested in just, if Monte Cook made a traditional, took the Cypher system, and he had done this out of the gate, took the Cypher system and made a fully accessible fantasy game that looked like a fantasy game and respected the pure traditions of a Tolkien fantasy setting, I think I really believe that Cypher system would have very much competed for the throne and gone right up against Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. But he didn't do this. He started with The Strange, a game that is based on Sumerian myth, which is great if you're a professor that wears tweed jackets with leather pouches on the elbows. But I ain't a history professor, right? I read that game and I was like, what the heck is this? I did not get it, right? And I got 2 degrees, right? I got a master's degree, and I couldn't read that book, right? Or I could read it, but I couldn't run it. And I sure as heck, I'm like, okay, now I got to go find some people who are really down with Sumerian myth. I'm like, where am I going to find that, right? And it's the same thing with Numenera. Numenera it's an amazing game, but the setting is so inaccessible and only would appeal to some super intellectual, incredibly secular Hollywood executive. But there ain't that many of them. You can't sell that many copies based on that. So let me put it this way. The Monte Cook games are a perfectly made piece of chicken, okay? But then it's put into Sriracha. The Sriracha is the setting. Sriracha's awesome for 10 people out of 100, right? But a lot of people are going to go, I don't get this. Why'd you take this perfectly good grilled piece of chicken and put Sriracha on it? You've now made it inaccessible to a lot of people. Not everybody likes Sriracha, right? So that's my issue. Here's what I'm saying. Arcana of the Ancients is Monte Cook building a garage at Mike Mearls' mansion. It's not good. It's not good, and I truly believe this is paining Monte Cook to do this. And the reason why he's going to do it is it's going to sell. It's going to sell, right? People buy D&D 5e. I think in large numbers, people are not really buying MCG games, right? They do very, very well for an independent company, but they don't do well at the level of Dungeons & Dragons. And the only reason I'm taking the time to talk about this is Monte Cook is at the level of the designer they have on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, right? He's better than Mearls. He's better than Mearls. And his game should have got that shine. And if he just cut that Hollywood, I will say it, if he had cut that Hollywood nonsense out of those settings, those books would have sold like hotcakes. But he sriracha'd that perfect piece of chicken, and he made it inaccessible to a ton of people. Now, I think that was personally rewarding for him, but now I think we're all learning at the industry level that it was not commercially rewarding, because I think commerce is about the only reason Monte Cook would go build a garage near Mike Mearls' mansion. Okay? It's my take. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful day.